Godhead is present in everything. There is the question of being liberated from material engagements to spiritual, blissful life. Indeed, it is a fact that Krishna is the source of everything. As we understand from Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavam, all the activities in both the spiritual and the material world are certainly conducted by the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the agency of either the material or the spiritual nature. As further confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9.10, Maya Adhyakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharachara. Without the direction of the Supreme Lord, the material nature cannot do anything. It cannot act independently. Therefore, in the beginning, the living entity wanted to enjoy the material energy and to give the living entity all facility. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, created this material world and gave the living entity the facility to concoct different ideas and plans through the mind. These facilities offered by the Lord to the living entity constitute the 16 kinds of perverted support in terms of knowledge gathering senses, the working senses, the mind, and the five material elements. The wheel of repeated birth and death is created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But to direct the bewildered living entity in progress towards liberation, according to the varied stages of advancement, different directions are given in the Vedas, that is Chandomayam. If one wants to be elevated to the higher planetary systems, he may follow the Vedic directions. As the Lord states in Bhagavad Gita 9.25, Yanti deva vrata devan pitran yanti pitrvata bhutanti bhutani yanti bhutej yanti madhyajino pima. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship the ghosts and spirit will take birth among such beings. Those who worship ancestors go to the ancestors, and those who worship me will live with me. The real purpose of the Vedas is to direct one back home, back to Godhead. But the living entity, not knowing the real goal of his life, wants to go sometimes here and there, sometimes here, sometimes there, and do sometimes this and sometimes that. In this way, he wanders throughout the entire universe, imprisoned in various species, and thus engaging in various activities for which he must suffer the reactions. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore says, Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavana Jiva Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Lata Bija. The fallen conditioned living entity trapped by the external energy loiters in the material world. But if by good fortune he meets a bona fide representative of the Lord who gives him the seed of devotional service, and if he takes advantage of such a guru or representative of God, then he receives the Bhakti Lata Beej, the seed of devotional service. If he properly cultivates Krishna consciousness, he is then gradually elevated to the spiritual world. The ultimate conclusion is that one must surrender to the principles of Bhakti Yoga, for then one will gradually attain liberation. No other method of liberation from the material struggle is at all possible. ओमज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरू श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजाता सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखा नमां विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नाम्नि नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्यनाम्ने गौरद्विषे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त शिवकान्त नमोस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी शिलाधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी शभानुसुते प्रणमामि नीलाचलनिवासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलभद्रसुभद्राभ्यां श्रीवेदान्ताय ते नमः। कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यः पतितानां पावनेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यमीश्वरम्। I seek the blessings of His grace, Nityananda Prabhu, and all the devotees assembled here, so that we can make some small little attempt to glorify the Lord and the devotees of the Lord, and to remain absorbed in those glories. My dear Lord, everyone in the material world is under the modes of material nature, being influenced. The subtle bodies of the living entities through the agency of your external energy, which is agitated by time. As the mind entraps the living entity in unlimited varieties of desires to be fulfilled by the Vedic directions of the Karma Kanda, the fruitive activity, and the 16 elements, who can get free of this entanglement unless he takes shelter at your lotus feet? Sri Ishopanishad very aptly describes this material world to be perfect and complete. Because Sri Ishopanishad says that the Lord is supreme, perfect, and complete, and all emanations from the Supreme Lord is also complete. Therefore, the material world, uh, being an emanation from the Supreme Lord, is also complete. Although the material world is external energy of the Lord, it is separated energy of the Lord. And So, although it is not connected to the Supreme Lord, it is a separated energy of the Lord. Uh, Although it is based and growing on the Lord, as the Lord is explaining, Sutre Mani Gana Iva, it is a separated energy of the Lord. Even though separated, it is complete. So, now our experience of the material world is a place of inebrities, and limitations. In what sense it is complete? So the completeness of this material world is understood in both in both the ways which Srila Prahlad Maharaj is pointing out here. The first aspect that this material world is complete is because this material world has complete arrangement uh, to keep the living entity in the state of illusory slumber for eternity. It is perfect and complete because it has infinite facilities for being lost into illusion and delusion, life after life, for eternity. Uh, Means there is never going to be any point where the living entity can get saturated out of the illusory presentations of this material world. That time is never going to come. That the living entity say, okay, I have experienced it enough and I'm saturated by it. No, that point is never going to come because the amount of flavors which the material world keeps possessing, keeps manifesting, can entice the living entity again and again and again for eternity. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada is explaining that, and now elaborating on Prahlad Maharaj's prayer here, the purport, and Prabhupada begins the purport by saying that, okay, if the hand of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is present in everything, where is the question of being liberated from material engagement to a spiritual blissful life? So Prahlad Maharaj, when he's describing, then he's describing that yes, because the living entity is bound by the shackles of the mind. And Prahlad Maharaj is describing in his prayer that this mind is not an ordinary thing. Because the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by his expansions, the Lord has personally created this subtle body through the external energy. So therefore this subtle body is formidable. And uh, the subtle body is formidable. So that is why Prahlad Maharaj is pointing out that this subtle body, because it is coming from the Supreme Lord, the mind is such a formidable foe, and therefore the mind is invincible. Nobody can win over the mind by one's own strength. And that is why the material world is perfect and complete. There is such a complete arrangement that the living entity can be bound here for eternity and therefore simply try out and test out all kinds of whims and fancies of material desires. So this should not be fear striking, or this should be hope giving, because whatever the Lord does to a perfect degree. Therefore, the living entity wanted a place to enjoy carnal propensities, and the Lord has created such a perfect and complete place that one can be eternally entangled in it. So whatever the Lord does in a very perfect and complete manner. The Lord doesn't leave any scope, any loopholes here and there. Ah, so therefore, one has to understand that okay, if owing to the living entity's most perverted desire of enjoying in such a ghastly ways, the Lord also fulfills that in such a complete way. Srila Prabhupada is using such a beautiful explanation. Prabhupada is saying, okay, this material world is filled with all the perverted facilities. All the perverted facilities of support are there. These are our working senses, knowledge acquiring senses, and the five sense objects. These are all perverted facilities for the perverted desires of the living entity. So the Lord has fulfilled such a perverted desire. When the living entity desires purely, sincerely, honestly, heartily, feelingly, to take shelter of the Supreme Lord, will the Lord make arrangement? That is the point. When for such a ghastly and perverted and ugly desire of the living entity, the Lord has created a complete facility, so much so that nobody can win over it. It's invincible. What to say of a sincere desire? What to say of a sincere desire? To go back to the spiritual world. And therefore, we see that emancipation from this material world is only possible by the methodology, and the vehicle which is provided by the Supreme Lord. And that is why Srila Prabhupada is explaining that that only by the process of Krishna consciousness, the cultivation of Krishna consciousness, is it possible to come out of this material world. And this arrangement of Krishna consciousness is much more powerful than the complete arrangement of entangled, which the Lord has created, supplying all kinds of perverted support. Let's stop here for today. Gracias, Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vivo. Maharaj ki jai.